In today's tutorial, we're learning how to make this mini template in PowerPoint with a green relaxing style. We have an opening slide followed by an agenda page with different bullet points that you can add, as well as a project timeline. Whereas if you have more than 4 or 5 elements, you can easily connect it to a next part and a next slide and continue the timeline. We also have a SWOT analysis that we want to add in the slide, as well as a table design with the different product levels, followed by a nice thank you and closing style, all in the same consistent theme. Now this template is part of a broader template of 60 plus slides. And if you want to buy that one, I'll link it down in the description below. It will save you a lot of time and effort in the future. And if you want to follow along in the tutorial, this is the color palette that I've used, so you can pause the video and add it to your presentation. Now this tutorial I've split up into 2 parts, first making all the slides individually and then eventually animating that at the end. So if you hover over the timeline, you'll see the different slides as well as the animation starting points. And for this tutorial, we're starting from a blank presentation. Now first, let's do some setup in the Slide Master. So we go to the View tab, click on Slide Master. Here we have a lot of templates that we can use, but we can also modify them just a bit to make them match our presentation. So for the first one, the title slide, I'm going to remove the parts at the bottom here, right click, format background, and then give this the darkest fill. The title and the text, and then I want to change to the light version, the beige, and also the font, I want to change it to Montserrat. The title itself, that can be the bold version. Let's do extra bold. And the subtitle, I think that can remain as it is. That looks quite good. Now we want to add a little bit of an outline, so I'm going to add a rectangle on the screen. Let's close this for now so we can see the full slide. Remove the fill, and we give this the light beige outline. Hold the side, select the side and hold the Control key, and drag it slightly inwards. You'll see that it happens on the left as well as on the right if you hold the Control key. Do the same at the top and give it equal distance. This way we have a nice border, equal border on the sides. Now let's close the Master tab. And here we can see that the opening slide, the title slide, has been modified. So now we can easily type in our keyword or our title. Let's type in relaxing green, the name of our template, and we call it a modern and flexible template. Now we can always add some style elements. So we can go to the Insert tab, go to Icons, and I'm going to use one of these standard icons. Let's type in nature, but you can also use your company colors or company logo here. And let's go for a tree. I think that fits the theme. Graphics fill, and give it the same light color. That already looks quite nice, but if you want some extra elements at the bottom, you can always go to shapes and then select, for example, the diamond, because this presentation is going to contain a lot of the diamond shapes. Place it in the middle of the slide, align to center. Outline, we give it the light, and the fill, no fill. Here we want to place it in the center, maybe slightly upwards. Hold Control Shift to create a copy to the right, and do the same for the left. And now we can equally space them, so make sure that they have equal space. If it's too large, you can always group them together, Ctrl G, and then hold the Ctrl Shift key to make them just a little bit smaller. So it really depends on how large you want them. I'm going to go for somewhere in the middle, and you can ungroup them again. And this is already our opening slide that we've made. Now let's look at the agenda slide. And for that, we're jumping back into the Slide Master, so View, Slide Master. And here I'm going to modify the second page. For that, I want to change the background to the dark as well. Remove the parts here at the bottom. And we're going to rearrange the title as well as the text box. So this one, we're going to shift it to the side. And the title, we're going to drag somewhere in the middle. For the title, I want to use that same formatting. So I want to go to Home, Fonts, Montserrat, and make it light. For this, I think it looks a bit too light, so I'm going to use the semi-bold. That will look better in our case. Now I want to add a rectangle, so go to Rectangle and add the light part on the slide. So close the format here so we can see the full slide again. And then place a rectangle halfway the slide. No outline, and give that light fill. Right click, send to back. Then the text box. Then you can select the text box and center it in the middle. Also here, we want to modify the font, Montserrat, and give it the second lightest green. You can go for the dark if you want, but I think I like the lighter version a little bit better. So now let's go back to the presentation, go to Slide Master again, Click Close Slide Master, and now you're back in the presentation. We go to New Slide, and here we have the second layout that we formatted. So let's type in what's on the agenda, ? And if you want to highlight the word agenda, you can do it by, for example, selecting the word and then pressing Ctrl U to underline or clicking that underline button. You can also put it in cursive or italic. I'm going to go for underline only. And then here on the side, we have a text field. It starts with a bullet point, but if you just press backspace, it will remove the bullet point. Let's type in 01 and some dummy text, lorem ipsum $. And for the font, because we're going to use multiple fonts, I'm going to change it manually to bold, reduce the font size to 18, and now paste in some dummy text. I think this is a bit too large for the full text, so I think 14 will be good. Now there's a few things you can do. Either you can drag and reduce the size of the box, text box, and then create copies of the box like this. That way they might be easier to edit and to animate on the slide. Or alternatively, if we go back, we could also copy the content, press enter, and add it a few times. Maybe add some line breaks behind each point. So it really depends on how you prefer to work. You can just change the numbers, 2, 3, and 4. Even with the slide master, you can always adjust the box and then center everything nicely in the middle. So you have an optical balance between the space here on the left as well as on the right. This adds for a balanced slide. Same at the top. Let's look for equal space on the top as well as the bottom. So that looks about right. And this is our agenda slide. Now let's move forward to the project timeline. And for that one, we're also jumping into the slide master. So go to View, Slide Master. And now we're looking for a page where we have only the title. You can always create them yourself. If you don't have it, you don't have to use the standard ones. I'm removing the footers. Right click, Format Background. And let's go for a totally light contrast of the slide. So we have a contrast between the green, the dark green slides, the 50/50 slides, as well as a full light slide. Same thing here, go to Home, change the font to Montserrat, and then go for that semi-bold style again. Also here, we're going for that green fill, not the darkest, but one tint lighter. And I always like to have just a very clean slide in the slide master. So I'm going to stick with this one, close the master again, and then add a new page and go for the blank one. Let's call this one Project Timeline and create a cool timeline. Because we have worked with that diamond shape, I'm going to use it once more. So select the diamond, hold Shift to create a perfect diamond, and center it in the middle of the slide. I'm going to give it a beige fill. You'll see in a second why I do it, and no transparent fill. And in the outline, I choose the dark green again. Now I'm going to hold Shift and Control and create a copy. Do that 3 more times, so we have 4 in total. Select them all, arrange, align, distribute horizontally. You can Ctrl G to group them together, arrange, and then align to center. This way they are nicely aligned in the center of the slide. Now go to Shapes and add a line. And I'm going to drag it from the left. You can hold Shift for a perfect line. And then connect it all the way to the right. Give it the same dark color, right click, and send to back. And this is where we have that fill come in nicely. So we kind of pretend that everything, the lines nicely continue and flow into one another. But in reality, the line is just going in background. But if you give it the same color as the background, it looks a bit transparent, and I like that effect. Now we're going to add some text to the slide. And for that, I'll just copy the text here for convenience reasons, paste it on the slide. Of course, give it the same dark green color. And it looks like the font has changed, so I'm going to change it to Montserrat. Make the text box smaller, and maybe also reduce the text, because for on the timeline, we probably don't need that much text anyways. Center it in the middle, and then place it underneath one of the boxes. You can add your year here. I'm going to keep it simple for the example. Hold Ctrl Shift and create a copy, put it to the third one, and then let's select everything, place it down just a little bit, and I'm going to create a copy once more and put it on top of the other one. Let's get rid of the title and let's paste it at the bottom here. And let's have a look. This one is 18, so let's put that one on 18 as well to have a nice balance between them. There we go. And then create a copy and drag it to the right as well. This way we have a nice timeline on the slide. I don't like the difference between the green here and the green of the titles, so I'm going to give the titles that light green as well. It really depends on the style. You can do the opposite if you want and make everything dark green. Now this is a good timeline if you have 4 steps. Now if you have more than 4 steps and you don't want to crowd the slide, you can easily copy the slide, so duplicate on the left. You can either right click, duplicate, or use the shortcut on Windows, it's Ctrl D. And what I like to do here is I want to extend the line, so select the line, select the right dot, hold shift and drag it to the edge of the slide. So we connect it to the next slide. Now go to the second one, select the line and grab the left dot and connect it to the left side of the slide. And this way, if we connect them in the animation later on, we'll see that they nicely flow into one another. Now for the timeline, if there are specific milestones that you want to celebrate or show, you can go to Insert, Icons, and then select a few icons. So I'm going to go for nature. You can do it with milestones like start of a project, end of a project, reviews, etc. That is totally up to you to decide. So I'm going to select a few outline icons because I like to keep them in the same style. Let's do 4. Select them all, make them quite a bit smaller, give them all the same outline color, and then you can paste them in the icon placeholders or in the timeline stops. If you want to select them again, you can just drag over them. Just don't drag over the entire box or you'll have everything with you selected. So you can just drag around the icon alone to select them. So if you want to make them, for example, darker, you can do it like this. You can hold Ctrl Shift to increase them all from the center. So that's pretty convenient and easy to work with. Let's also copy them to the next slide. That way you get an idea of what it could look like. So this is the third slide that we've made, the timeline. Now let's move on to the SWOT analysis. And for that one, I'm also jumping back into View, Slide Master, and we're going to create a duplicate of this slide. So Ctrl D. But here we're going to change the colorings. So where we have a light version now, we're going to make a dark background, and then the font, we're going to change it to a light version. So we have both in the template. Go to Slide Master, Close Master, and now let's work with that one. So New Slide, and add the dark version to the slide. Let's call the title what it is, SWOT Analysis, and add some content to the slide. Here I also like to work with the diamond shape, so we have a consistent style in the presentation, and I want to work with a dark and a light version. So let's start with the bright version, the light version. Give that a light color and no outline. I'm going to create a copy and then drag it on top again. Hold Ctrl Shift and scale it downwards. Let me just change the color to yellow so you can see what's happening. So the icon was on top, or the layer was on top. I'm holding the Ctrl and Shift key to scale it downwards a little bit. I want to make it just a tiny bit smaller. And now we're going to give this the dark outline of the background. Remove the fill. So we have a square, a diamond with a little outline in it. So it gives that little extra touch to your shapes. We want to group this together, so select both Ctrl G, and let's create a copy to the right. And for this one, I want to do the opposite. So the outline inside, I want to make that the light version, and then the square or the diamond shape, I want to make that dark. So we have a little bit of that negative here. I'm going to send this to the back and then create 2 more copies. Grab the light version and then put it down. Send this to the back as well. And then create a copy of the dark version. And let's put that here. And then I like to bring this one to the front. So that we have 4 squares. But you can see they nicely align and overlap, and it gives that little extra thought to your slide. Now let's add some text boxes. So drag one in and give the letter S. So for the font, change the Montserrat. Let's make this one dark. Subfont, we're going to use something more bold. So go for bold, extra bold, I think will do good. And increase it in size. Center it in the middle, and then place it in the middle of your design. Maybe one tick larger. That will be good. Hold Control and create a copy to the other one. W. Of course, we want to make that light, so it's easy to read. And then hold Control and drag to create another copy. Let's do this one. O, so we read it clockwise. And then a T, which we want to make light as well. So this way we have the SWOT analysis chart made in the middle, and now we want to add some content. And for that, I'm going to copy one of the text boxes again, paste them on the slide, make it light, align to the right, and let's call this one strengths. Hold Ctrl Shift to create a copy. Threads, select both, hold Ctrl Shift again, create a copy, and align to right. Weakness and opportunities. Let's close these down. And I like to have the strengths and opportunities in a lighter version and the weaknesses and threats in a darker version. I think that really adds to the message, and this gives us quite a cool SWOT analysis slide to work with. Now let's go for one more slide, and that's going to be the table. So let's use one of the existing templates that we have, title only, and call this one product levels. And I want to go to insert and then add a table to the design. So table, let's do a 6x4 table and add it to the presentation. You can see this one contrasts quite a bit with the slide. So we're going to see if we have any available options that will look a lot better. I kind of like the more minimal approach of a table design. So let's see if we can find one of those. I already like this one. So let's see if we can make the borders a bit more clear. Let's type in features, product A, product B, product C, and maybe let's just do 3 products, delete columns, and then add a few more towards the bottom. There we go. Center it in the middle, and here the features, let's call it option. Let's call it option 1, and copy that, option 2, option 3, option 4, and option 5. Now the text, we want to give that the good font, Montserrat, make it light, maybe a bit smaller. And for those, I want to center it in the middle. The options, I'm going to make it a bit smaller. So I want only the options selected and make that a bit smaller. Now we want to rearrange the table design. So select the table, go to table layout, table design, pen color, and I want the light version, and then draw table. I'm going to draw over the lines between the products, as well as below the titles. So if we now click or press escape to deselect, we can see that we have these lines in place. Now I don't like this line at the top and the one at the bottom, so I can remove that, select the table, eraser, and now you have to select over the top line. Do the same at the bottom line, and then press escape again to release. And this gives you quite a nice table design. You can always scale it up or down if you want, and it will remain the layout that you've chosen. Now, if you want to show if an option is available for a certain product, you can give that a specific fill. So what I'm going to do is you can either write yes or no, but I kind of like to have that little dot available. So I'm going to go to Insert tab, Symbols, and in the Symbols tab, you can find in the Bullets and Star section, you can find the different bullets. I'm going to go for this black circle, double click to add it to the slide, and this will put it as a text format in the table. I want to have it in the center, and then this one I'm going to copy, and then of course select the entire table, center, that looks nicer, and then copy it for whichever product it is relevant. So let's say product C has everything, B has a little bit less, and A is the basic version. This is how you could show it. And this is the table design that we've made. Now let's look for a final closing slide to end our presentation. For that, I'm going to create new slides and go for the title slide again. I think now we go full circle and we type in thank you, drag it down just a little bit, and maybe insert icon and do a hands icon as a sign of appreciation, graphics fill, and then put that to the top. Make it a bit larger, position everything nicely on the slide, and there we have it. Now we have 7 slides made in PowerPoint. Now let's look at connecting them together and animating those slides. It's not going to be too complicated, so we're going to start from the first page that doesn't need animation. For the second slide, I'm going to use the transition, and let's use push. Here you can see the push was a bit weird, so I'm going to push it from the right, so that we have, if we increase this, we have the right side of the beginning slide, which is green, and the left side of the next slide is also green. So if we connect those together, it will look quite smooth. Increase the duration to about 2 seconds, and let's do the same for the other one. From right, 2 seconds, so we connect everything together. And I could have copied this for the other one. So the timeline that we also want to put in 2 seconds, because if we preview that, it looks like we connect the slides together. So If we push this one from the right, it will nicely connect with the previous slide. Push, that could be a regular one from the bottom. Here let's do push again to from the side, from the right. And then for a closing one, let's do the same from the right. If you want to select more at once, you can also select multiple pages and then just do push and do the same setting for everyone. Now let's preview what we have made. So in today's tutorial, we've learned how to make this relaxing green template, or at least the first few slides of it, with a nice title slide, connection to the agenda slide of the presentation with some bullet points, moving on to a timeline, where if we want more information, we can easily connect it to the next part of the timeline. As a next slide, we have the SWOT analysis with 4 different parts and a nice visual, as well as a products level slide, where we show the different options and availabilities of products, and then eventually the thank you slide or the closing slide. Thanks a lot for watching. If you want to learn more about PowerPoint, make sure to drop a follow and watch the video on the screen right now. If you're interested in the full slide deck in this style with over 60 slides, I'll put the link in the description below so you can access it right away.